Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Chen Design. This channel is about sharing Rhino 3D knowledge to students and professionals learning various Rhino 3D techniques. We are going to talk about this key model today. I will show you the detail on the top part, how I build each part and construct it into a solid. We won't talk about the bell and the chain in this tutorial, but you can find a link below to see the detailed tutorial on specific the chain and the bell. Are you ready? Let's get started. If you go to the Google and search for the OK design, you will have a lot of black and white image, which is actually easier for us to trace in the Rhino. So go ahead to pick up any of the design that you like as a reference. We don't have to build exactly the same, but some of the design have very intricate scroll design, for example, will be great for a design reference. So pick up the image that you like and save it into somewhere you can find, and then we'll use that to trace in the Rhino. So when we are in the Rhino, let's go to the top view and type a picture frame in Rhino 5 or picture in Rhino 6. And we'll go into the image that we save and bringing into the top view. You can pick up any of the image that you like. In this case, my demonstration will working on the one on the left. So I want to roughly to scale into the size that I like. In this case, it's roughly over, it's about 40 millimeter roughly, and we can always change the size later. So let's go ahead to lock this one, and since my image is black, I'm going to change my line into my layer into the red color, so my line will be easier. My plan is to use a sweep to command, so we will need to create a curve for it. Let's use the curve tool, and I wanted to starting from inside of this sphere so we can have intersect and we can bowling in later. So let's draw the first one. And you can always use F10 or turn on the control point to find the best curve on it. Alright, so I'm going to draw one more time. This one we're gonna draw somewhere from here and try to find the best curve here. Alright, here I want to show you a little trick. Instead of try to trace this puffy part, I usually like to use the blend tool because it's come up better. I'll pick up this end and this end. And you can also edit the control point to make sure it fit well. Once you have done that, you will have three different sections. Let's go ahead to hold the shift key and join them together. After joining, we would like to split into half. And you can always make sure that your all snap either is on the midpoint or the quadrant is on, and we use the point to separate them into two halves. So those two will be our rail, and let's go to the perspective. Now we need to make a cross section, so let's use the arc tool. And in the arc tool, on the third one is start and end and direction of the arc. So we will do is we will go into the perspective and let's snap into the endpoint and the endpoint. Come into the right view and holding the shift. So that way you will have a 90 degree. Alright, so to creating this surface, let's go to use the under the surface, you have sweep to rail, and this is gonna be rail 1, rail 2, cross section, and that's how we get this really smooth surface. Alright, then the rest of the four, I'm going to fast forward here, and so you can see in the fast pace here, but it pretty much will be the same. As you can see here, I try to trace all the line for our rail first, and you will need to reuse the first model or the first shape to reuse them as a rail. So after I create the first shape, I will need to explode the curve back to 3 section and use where it's overlapping to be the first rail on all of them. So you can see how I built this with sweep to rail command. This is a nice model, but one thing for metal casting is if you look at this out profile, it's connected like this way. That means this is almost no thickness on where it's connected. That means when you are casting, it might cause the issue. So what I like to do now is just a little bit change there. I'm going to close all the foam first and then make them into the solid and try to scale it up, overlapping a little bit. It might change just a little bit, but it will make your model cast much better. So I'm going to close this one and this one right here, so making another surface. We're going to pick up this curve and this curve, and the command I'm using is leaving under the surface, and this is surface from the planar curve. That's the command I'm using. So pick up 2 curve and close this end here. And the reason we wanted to do that is I'm going to use the cap command, but need to make sure that it's only one side is flat and it's open. You cannot have 2 sides open and to do the cap command. So I'm gonna do that to all of them. And now what I'm doing is try to join those surfaces together. And then we can use the cap command. Let me flip it on the other side so we can see better. Let's hide this one. Alright, so now we can use the cap command to cap all of this. Okay, so now we have this, as I was talking about earlier, we need to kind of scale it up a little bit. And I'm gonna bring it back to my drawing here. I don't wanna be like too much difference, but because we scale it up, we can kind of bring it back together like this. So they are kind of overlapping, which also create a thickness in between. So I'm gonna bring this back here a little bit and bring this one back here. Alright, so as you can see, they are overlapping, and if we are using, let me lock this one again. If we're selecting all of them and use the bowling unit, so they will be a good piece and has a thickness on it. Even though we are going to mirror to the other side, it's also going to increase the thickness, and that will ensure a better casting quality. Now I finished this part on the top. I'm going to just drop a sphere roughly about right here, and we can scale it later once we mirror to the other side. Let's work on the part in the middle. Let's go ahead to lock this one that we already did, and for the second, the middle part, we are still going to use the sweep to. So that's creating the first rail roughly about right here, and you can always turn on the control point to adjust the point to fit into your design more. And this one is just for our reference, so I'm not gonna make it 100% fit, but just want to show you how I do it for the adjustment. Once we've done the first rail, the second rail, we're going to go roughly from here, and again try to follow your design as possible. In this case, it's not gonna be 100%, but one thing I would like to do here is make sure that it's get inside of this shape there. The reason is the same. We want to make sure that it's gonna be overlapping. So this is some part that overlapping, so we can do a better bowling difference, a bowling unit together. So you can go ahead to adjust the curve to make sure that it fit well. Okay, so then we are going to creating the circle. I'm gonna use the diameter because I'm going to snapping into the endpoint right here and right here. Now you see that the circle is flat. We want it to be vertical. So going to the top, there's a vertical. You click on it, it will be vertical right there. And let's do one more time. Endpoint to endpoint. Before you click on the second one, you want to use the vertical option. So let's take a look on the perspective. So here's what we have on that, and I'm going to use the same command, sweep to rail, and this is our rail 1, rail 2, and cross section. So then we can have something like this. All right, you can also, one thing we can do is, before we do that, we want to record the history, and let's do one more time, sweep to rail, rail 1, rail 2, cross section, and cross section. So now once we have done, and if we feel like, okay, this is not too good of the curve, I can always turn on the control point and edit. So that way you can make sure the foam is intersection with it. Or you feel like, okay, this curve might be too bumpy and I want to move a little bit, so your shape will follow it. Okay, and you can spend some time to find them a better shape. Okay, so now we are done with it. I'm not gonna spend too much time to adjust it. Let's go ahead to finish with 2 spheres. So let's go to the top view, and I'm going to drop 2 spheres right here. First one is roughly going to be here, and it's roughly going to be that big. All right, the second one will be somewhere here, like this big here. So let's go ahead to cap this one, and it will say it break my history. That's all right, because this is already perfect and we don't need to change too much. All right, so once it's capped, I'm going to bowling unit those together. All right, so now it look okay, but when you're looking at the render view, then you're going to see this line here, and it's not gonna look good. Let's take a look on it. So what the goal is, try to make it look as smooth as possible. So we're gonna go back to the ghost view, and right here we're gonna use the fit command right here. Let's go ahead to fit it. One might be too small. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit too small, so I'm going to try 2.5 and see what happens. All right, it looks smoother, so I'm going to try 2.5 here as well. Okay, so now we have this one. Let's do a little bit test here. Now this is showing the height of our first part. The second part apparently is a little bit too fat, so I'm going to 1D scale down. So it will look something that's more appropriate to the first part that we have. Maybe a little bit thicker right there. All right, so that was the first part, and I'm just gonna simply to mirror to the other side using the endpoint as my mirror point, and let's mirror this one to the other side. All right, so now we have done that part. Let's go ahead to finish the third part. For the third part, we are going to separate them into the 3 sections again. So first section, it's going to go from here. That will be our first section, and let me make them smoother. Okay, the second line is going to go from here, and don't forget to make sure that has intersect. So this is roughly will be my second section there. All right, and you probably kind of guess what I'm going to do here at the tip. Instead of trying to trace it, I'm going to use the blend tool to blend it together, so that will ensure a better, smoother foam. All right, so now I have this. I'm going to join them together, and actually I'm going to rebuild this one. There's another trick here to show you. For the rebuild, you can rebuild it's really close to whatever it has, but by rebuilding it will make it much smoother. So look at this, like part has a flat section, so now I can move it out a little bit and all other foam will follow, so it will be smoother. And of course after rebuild you kind of need to adjust what you have there to fit into your design. So here's our perspective. We are going to use the arc, and then we're gonna use the third one, start, end, and direction. So here's the arc, and let's take a look on the right view, holding the shift. So that way we have the cross section vertical. And with this one that's split into two, so rail 1, rail 2. So using the sweep to command, rail 1, rail 2, cross section, and that's how we get that one. Right, we want to close this foam by the command for surface from planar curve. We're gonna have this curve and this curve and join them together. And cap them. All right, so now I can just simply to mirror this guy back to the other side. So now we only need to, the last part we need to do, this section here is the top part. So what I like to do, go back to the top, and we're gonna draw a line, a curve. It's go inside of this foam, so we'll ensure we have a better bowling later on. And we wanna mirror that to the other side. Okay, and try to blend again. I use a lot of blend in this tutorial. Just want to show you different way of how I work with curve. And we want to go to the perspective, and then let's go ahead to use the same commands for the arc, and that's snapping into the endpoint, holding the shift at the right view, and to create this arc. Let's go ahead to split this into two, and we want to split with the point right in the quadrant, so we got those. And let's go ahead to sweep to rail. So this is the rail 1, this is the rail 2 cross section. Let me go ahead to close this shape. Second one, surface from planar curve, and let's join those two and cap it as well. Alright, so now we have all the part is ready, and we can simply just bowling all the part together. But before we do that, we want to check the thickness if that is what we want. So let me hide the background, and let's take a look on this one. Alright, so we want to take a look on the side and make sure that they all look nice before we do all the bowling. So I'm going to pick up this shape and this shape. Let's go to the right view, and we want to pick up the shape over here, and let's go ahead to do the mirror. Alright, So the middle part, it might be too much. So I would like to scale it down a little bit so it's not sticking out too much right there. And rest of it look nice, so we can ball in at this point. The final part is actually quite easy. Let's turn on our drawing again. And I'm gonna do a little bit change here. I would like to have a cylinder. And simply snapping somewhere in the middle. Somewhere like this. And I can just have it pick up any of the shape that I have somewhere about the one in the middle. So let me pick up this ball here and the cylinder, and let's do the align. So now it's aligned. I can 1D scale it down, maybe a little bit wider. Okay, and you can alter your design if you need to. Let's give it a little bit fillet edges. 2.5 looks nice. Let's go ahead to do another cylinder, and this time I want to snapping into in the center, and then roughly about this size. All right, so the very last part, we want to give it a little bit radius so it will look nicer there. All right, so very last part, we're gonna use the straight line, holding the shift, coming back here. Another shape will be right here. And with those two shapes, I'm going to use the command for the corner fillet corners, and then let's set it up for try 1 and see how it turn out. Okay, and right here, maybe I need to have a bigger radius. I can simply just pick up those 3 and delete them, so they will come up a very large curve there. Let's go ahead to extrude those two shapes by going to extrude planar curve and pick up this one and that one. And we want to make sure they both are solid and will be right there. For a better rendering, I will suggest you to giving a little bit fillet edges, both top and the bottom. Alright, it's turned out alright. We can now turn off the background, so I'm going to unlock it and hide it. So now this is our key. We only things is left for us to do is bowling. So this is the tutorial today for making this key. I hope you enjoyed. Please comment below, let me know how you do on it, and if you have any questions that I can answer for you. Thank you for watching. I will see you next Monday.